Now I'm going to tell you what I've always wanted to tell the Americans after a phenomenon of space and science was assassinated with a head bashed in on your coastlines. Near the end of the number, because we were at 147 to 2 to 1, 2 to 1. Post factum, the loss of large intel. We didn't like Mossad either, by the way. And other phenomenal sciences are shared up kick-ass with a fixation that I said before. You ain't got to change that shit anywhere around the planet with the nails and the others. It's just gone, bust. Even if, okay. Leftovers, yeah, Street of the Lost Children. Thank you, goodbye. Scouts. Anti-everybody. Now, let's go back to something that you still haven't understood. Losses of intel of that kind and others are not in competition with politicians. They're not there to play around the game of power. And they're not there to flaunt their tits, their PhDs, or a variety of other things. In other words, if they bring back a Disney version of that girl, it must have been a point in history. Understand? So this asswipe that you hate so much in America, other than the Hague, the Bureau de Veritas, and the Roman Tribunal for your freak-ass jealous bitches and hoes and their boyfriends, on my literal Crawley's chair, it doesn't sit well for anyone. Either you don't know what the original Jamila did, or you have some, Anyway, that's your, not mine. We have other Palinos on the coastlines and elsewhere, and I can connect the dots globals, the kingdom coming back forever and ever, for all I give a shit what the platinum has. But it's unchangeable, unmutable, and that's all news on the news. Oh, yes, I lost in that. So, as I was saying to the Americans, you're grown up. You're not children. You're not mentally retarded in America, okay? And you have pretenses. Because I have seen people with 1 million PhDs who can't reopen that shit that I used to do. That's where you showed to the rest of the world between La Sapienza University and others long ago, and we could see it coming on the coastlines, how nasty you are. Okay, so I'm not going to apologize for the Hague or apologize that the original intelligence of Jamila had her head bashed in on the coastlines. But I will tell you one thing. I've literally seen the devil, and I've come back in this format. The nails. Mm-hmm. And I have no pretenses. I know what happened to that intel. I know that I'm a relic of that. And I don't have the pretenses that you have. But you never did what that girl did. Nay, you continued. Nay, did you connect the dots globals as Disney with the others? You just sat there and laughed. Okay. Not bad. But I'm going to get this thinking people in the US, because otherwise, I know you speak about losses in the coastlines, blah, 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 blah. And, when they say a plummet time, a death, literally. And you were angry that the mermaid happened and that they stuck with her. Why? Because they had enough intelligence to see it, you see. So I don't speak about her, Bruno. I just don't. And I don't speak about competition. And I don't speak about I'm better. Because that's lost. And I don't see how that shit reopens. It doesn't, because those guys turned around and said in the intel communities, and said, man, motherfucker, that phenomenal shit has its head bashed in on the coastlines to come back like this. I'm going to be sitting there and criticizing the baby. No, I'm just going to look at this as mentally retarded. And those guys continue. So why did the girl come back? Why? In this format, without much sound, you see. Because in stupid times, something happened big, and nobody wanted to see what it was. In fact, even when I went to Rome to decide what after all the shit of the literal crawlies. I mean, for the parents, of course, running out of reason, and of course, connected those global already. I can consider that no issue. But straightforward as it gets, okay? Basta. Just quit it. We don't need the cats, the dogs, the birds, the people, and the whole shit on my crawlies and literal crawlies to talk to me. Because I'm not going to start talking to birds, cats, insects, and the whole shit on the planet. Pan's Labyrinth and the whole shit. I have had enough of your attitude. For somebody who claims they're educated, who even went to college in the US between Frisco and Fresno, to me, quite frankly, you could all go back to fucking federal prison. That's where you came from. You go back to LA. Because Fresno doesn't even have a federal prison, so don't give me your cheap ass bullshit. You don't give that to Disneyland after all she's been through the world. And on the retirements of the parents, you can fuck off. Literally. Where the sun don't shine. You think that the Disneyland version of myself, going through all those pains and all those clothes throughout the world, is going to be sitting there and kissing your ass? So that you can feel the prima donna? You're so jealous. She got 10,000 love letters from those guys. You know, US. You know what mental retardation is? Based on hate? Of that type? Or is it kind? Still. But the CIA still has the platinum hairs with me. I wonder why. So don't push the patience of children on the planet. Don't insult it. There are things you will not understand. You will not understand how the girl had her head bashed in and something was created somewhere else of negatives. Whether it was the mermaid or the plum hairs, I'm not going to explain to you that. Just say that if you bash the head of such a phenomenon, it's not the same. It's not going to be the same person. It's Intel, but it's not going to be the same person. They call it the Manhattan Project, they call it whatever. Lost Street of the Lost Children, Via dei Vertici Roman. I am not going to bother explaining such disgusting, illegal activity to you because I'm the Disney version of backup. I'm just not going to do it. Already, with the original Intel standing with their head bashed in on those lines and I'm bitty nails. This around the world already happened. South Africa with the nails, these guys, this guy. Connected those globals. Don't fuck with me just because you hate me for stating the obvious for that. Because La Sapienza University with the space sciences, many other buildings around the world and space sciences are not going to reopen for your fucking ass. I'm dead. Officially. Asswipe 221. 221. If you smash the head of the girl on the coastlines, then I just zip yourself. Just for that one. Getting back to the original, what I was trying to say. They say to me, darling, the only thing in common that you have with the original is the eyebrows. Sure, there's some features, of course. I'm not going to go into this. Let's stick it to high school. The element of McVariant was originally suspected to be related to the element of boron. Unfortunately, Wikipedia, the free encyclopedia on the internet, they're not. And the highest forms of intelligence on the planet have ascertained that boron in 80 years is so dark that even the highest forms of intel on the land will not truly or really or in any way know the element. Mamma mia. You know when they say way over your head? What I'm telling you is the reason they say I got a problem with Disneyland, it's not that they hate my ass. They hate your ass. They've had enough of your bullshit and your stupid people. They've simply had, even in the US, there are people in other states looking at this shit going, oh my goodness, I can't look at this shit anymore. There are people who just like, even, and then you're going to be sitting there and speaking to me about comparison. I'll give you a comparison right now. The comparison is this. And some more, that many times. In other words, All right, let's get back to the problem. When I went to this psych ward after the 4.5 years of trekking, I went to Rome. Simon was there, obviously, the order and other. Uh-oh, she's coming up the airplane. Disney, you're still alive. Listen. Oh, shut up. Listen, the Americans are big man. What do you want? Okay, let go there. Of course. And they come along and they say, and I'm looking out there, and this is in the Vatican. They literally took me. I mean, okay, let's see, another one to the hospital. There was grafted Ukrainian here, there, you know. Get out, fuck, I'll kill you right. What the fuck did I do? I said to them, I said, Jamila, this is not your character. You're so weak. Even if you had your head bashed in, it's not you. I said, listen, guys, you've known this. Yeah, but we've had enough. This is sickness of the Americans, something their ass. And I said to her, look, between you, the Brits, the Londoners, was internationals, some sycophants, Russia, Saudi, Aggie bitches, or winters and how to react, defending the parents and a dead baby on the coastlands. And they're looking at me and they're saying, that's called Glen film. I said, well, yeah, but now there's no sacrifice to stand wrong for retirements and all this called Glen film and everything. What's this hate? What's this dislike? What's this mental chaos that they want to create in the US? This, don't tell me. And this, what is it? Man, no. That's their retirement. So I'm looking at this and I'm thinking to myself, there are children out there who know this. And it's just depressing, you see. I'm not Mother Teresa of Calcutta, nor do I have the patience. But I know that your government is paying for all this. So you can have your titties and your assies on the street being bitches. Do you understand that? Unless you want to say whories. Don't you see what this is? Are you that blind? Because I can see it. I could see it since I was reborn. As Disney. So can anyone else on the planet that many times. Literally. And in the US. So you don't scare me in Fresno and Frisco. You disgust us. Do you understand that? It's not a question on your behavior. It's a question of what you're losing. You're angry that you're losing on the coastlines, but you could see it coming and you didn't give a shit. And those guys had that idea that was fixed ages ago. That if that girl dies that way, we're going down with her, ship and all. That's old news for the mermaid. You didn't do it. You didn't claim that was your brain. You didn't claim nothing. I didn't. And yet, they brought me back as Disneyland 221 to prove it. And you couldn't look at that. So you brought your, That's not even, that's like, have you ever seen the entertainment business? And have you seen like bitches on the street beating each other up? That's who you are. Not me. That's who you are. Fresno and Frisco. And you don't scare me. Because I know what the Hague is. I know what the Bureau de Veritas is. And I know what the Roman Tribunal is. All wrapped up in asswipe alone. Therefore, you know when they say bugger off from the dead baby. Because I may be a bugger, but you, you are the snot of the lowest kind, the lowest type. And you're making sure that you piss him off even more. Because you see, they never bring back dead babies for nothing. The only time they bring back those children, literally, as if something historic happened in Intel, especially if the intelligence had their head bashed in on those slides. And you know that. Just about everyone on the intelligence globals will tell you that about 221. But you can't deny, you're in denial about who you are. Take responsibility for your actions or inactions. You can't just be sitting there and saying to me, I'm educated, I went to college. Who gives? Fuck. If a cat and dog is going to turn around on the planet and say, wait a minute. What about the hanging benches, alert quitters, and laundry rig that many motherfucking time? You'll turn around and go, shit immediately. Pigeons will shit immediately. So you have to be a little bit more thinking. Because if you want to create drama, it doesn't take much. Understand? But if you create drama with those guys, and those guys know the storyline, even if I'm not with them, they will rip. Exactly. Getting back to this rip business. So I go to this hospital, I'm sitting there, and I'm looking in front of me, and there is a mausoleum of a female. And they said that was the historic shit dead. He's lying there and those guys are helping you out. Perfecto. I look behind me and there is a double-decker from London. I don't even remember the number anymore. On this side of the wall there is Iran. So what the fuck is Iran doing here? And that's the psych ward, of course, not Persische. Via the Persische, obviously. And in front of me, on that side, there is the main hospital of St. Peter's, the Basilica, Vatican. And it has 2 big columns, okay? Very big, gigantic. And palms, 2 palms on the sides, and they are above the building on the sides, and on the ground there's cactuses on the outsides and on the insides. And I'm looking at this shit. I'm looking at the Italian, mostly Italians, but there's only one little Polish guy. The majority are Italians, okay, in Rome, and there's internationals and others. And I'm looking at this and I'm thinking to myself, did that girl really do all that shit? And they're looking at me like, yeah. I said, listen, I listened to the intel and that shit because, this is pushing it, they're putting Disney through this shit, that girl already had her head bashed in on the bus lines, 2-1. This is just shut the fuck up, shut the front door and leave the fuck out of here. There's old news on the news, I can't even change that shit. Exactly. You will not be able to change those animals. I was looking at this shit, I was like, oh my God, I'm going to have another heart attack here, just for myself. Okay? So they're saying, you know what? If something happens to you in Rome, they stay in Rome. Yeah, okay, we'll fix it. We'll bring you back, little baby. There's so many people. Sit down again. And so I'm thinking to myself, a parada proprio of idiots. And here you have, I can make it worse for the government. I'm looking at you. You call me the monkey? You really are animals, US. Sick. I won't go near those guys and those girls if they paid me to. I mean, you had to force me on the literal crawlies to be with them, and they were suing you with the Roman tribunal in the billions for your cheap stunt with your psychos and bitches. Tagalongs and tagalongsies. And you knew that all along in Fresno Frisk, at Dolores Shelter and the others. You're stupid. You're as stupid as they said you were. That's why they sent me back, isn't it? Isn't that why they sent me back? The Disney version. To see who you are. The intelligence communities are just looking at this disbelief. Just for that one. In disbelief with the Hague and the baby, looking at the baby. In absolute disbelief. You're looking at me saying, Lazavians has been empty ever since you died. On the bus lines. A bitch ain't gonna be able to do nothing. Of course those guys joined forces with you. What are they? Pretentious whores. They got 10 million PhDs and they can't reopen any of your buildings. Not even that cheap shit in the lowlands. I was turning around and went, I said, darling, you were a phenomenon in that shit. I said, say again the word I and I'll fuck. I goes, asswipe, Please. Another miracle. What happened? Well, you did something, didn't you? A product of stupid times, maybe. And so this is what the intel community is. The intel community is not just a bunch of killers. Killing is the easiest for the intel community. The easiest is to kill. You understand that? Especially the phenomena. And because you haven't understood un iota of why those guys had this Palino for me alone, I ain't gonna fucking play with you. You can stuff that jealousy up your ass so much. That's why those guys are doing what they're doing. They see sick assholes and bitches. At this stage and at this point, I don't know what to tell you anymore. You're doing it on purpose and you are creating drama for your government and for others simply because. And in the Disneyland format, I already have a problem with that one. Even that for the Disney. For the hanging birches of Lord Quintus and now they erect that many flies. Rise! And that many Growlies and me, little Growlies and me. They're on retirements in prison for crying out loud. You are mentally retarded. And then they look at me and say, well, you're mentally retarded because you had a head bashed in and you came back like Disneyland. And I'm thinking to myself, at this stage, I'm leaving this country and that's it. You get your bitches, you have your best PhDs, you go to. You're wasting. I know shit. I'm leaving. Yeah, it's Copeland. No sacrifice at all to stay in wrong retirement. What I have to do. What I have to do. That's it. That's it, thank you. So, just the feeling of the losses of the intel that continued without me was already, as a child, extremely painful. I still haven't gotten over that at Disneyland. For the parents, forget it. You've lost every marble on the planet that many motherfucking times. Go ass crack out. There's no interest. About give me a break. And so I'm sitting there looking at all this stuff. This thing about tribal baby, I'm so tribal. And I'm looking at it and I'm thinking to myself, must be stupid times. And so on and so on. That's all they're saying, you see. And it's even in the US, you see. That's the, I don't know if this is a tragedy or it happened too many times that even the animals literally on this planet noticed going around in circles. And I cannot, the zoo, literally, I cannot explain it better than that because I can't. In other words, then they made this rosy thing that nobody likes, so to say. Out of me, I was like, wait a minute, I don't trust this shit whatsoever. And you see, it's not only instinct. There's a child. In fact, that's not what we're talking about. So I'm sitting there, and they're looking at this plum in time. That's what they're looking at. They're looking at a phenomenon that, when her head was bashed in and all those lines closed, pretty much some new buildings in space science. New. When I'm merdaccia on the ghost lines that, you already had and you lost because you smashed the head of that girl. Those went, shit. And those guys went with her. You understand? So you don't care for that. So when I went to play into the wedding, I said, listen, man, I was never religious. I didn't have time. I was like, flash, rise. I didn't have time to shit, piece of that. What's the stuff up? And then you're sitting there going, my bad, was like, guess the book. And I'm thinking to myself, what, that's Roman, So it's not, you see, when you have such stupidity and such hate. I understand that everyone has their own personal background, their own personal experiences in these big worlds. And I'm not afraid to point it out because I know who you are, even if you know who Disneyland is. Quite frankly, I don't give a shit. After the Ghost Lines, so you have to start seeing why, in a world like this, there is, whatever. And stop being jealous of something or envious colloquially because it's bad for you, not for me. Because at the end, you pay and others pay and the government pays. So you can have your moment of glory. Well, my moment of glory is empty buildings around the planet and the hanging benches of Laura Quintas and Larry Reck defending the Barons. Because the empty buildings are mine. That's why they call me nothing and void after the Rompiga Bessa. Do you understand that, you little shit? Now, those water creatures that were with me, stuck by me, whether it was the Italians or the Brits and others, because they knew what that girl had actually achieved and what that girl had defended, well, she had achieved it, on 92, 92 and above. For the Barons, and on 85, 85, you could already see something. And of course, the girl then had her head bashed in on the coastlines, and the Barons remained still on retirements in Fresno. It's intelligence. Okay, so it's not an issue of power. Now, if you want to make it an issue of power, the and Diagos of Harry Potter and a run mill throughout the planet, that many times with the zoo going around the circles, quite frankly, and I have had enough of it because if you think I'm Mother Teresa of Calcutta, you might give a shit of it. So, and so I'm sitting there, I'm looking at this, I'm not religious, man, and he's looking at me, I don't give a shit, you're black, yellow, shiny, shit. We're Roman Italians. We're not some fucked up shit. Because I'm all and that's when I realized how bad you are. They turn around and say, you touched that baby. What's this? But the Barons of Risen. There's a Scott Glenn film. They got 1 for 72 to 1. It's animal. I'm sitting there saying, sir, am I just a replacement here? Because you did something big. Again, he's saying it again. You. Yes, you, when you were alive, before the Rompiga Bessa, right? On the flying, so yeah. Right. Now what? I'm sitting there going, And so this is where, you see, I said to my parents as a child, this is a nightmare for me. They said, no, this will be a fairy tale for you. You will die in the fairy tale. You will not feel any more pain. The nightmare for you was at the beginning of the number, the Social Security, because of what you knew about your original self. Because before what happened to you, and of course the hanging benches, Florida Quintus, and erect for us, all those pains. Towards the end of our swipe, which was a very short, brief life of 221, it's more like a fairy tale, darling. No, something else. You will. I'm gonna fizzle out. I can't take this shit no more. And I'm looking at you. And I'm thinking to myself, what an ugly bunch of people. And everybody on the planet is saying that to my face on the streets. On Connected Dots Globals for myself. And on the crawlies and little crawlies for the parents, mine. My crawlies and little crawlies out of Fresno for the parents. Because I came out of the coastlines, supposedly. Yeah, the parents are more important. And I'm looking at all this and I'm thinking to myself, who the fuck invented this shit? Who? And I'm looking at it and I'm thinking to myself, Where is people who think? Where is even the common sense? Where is the ones that can control their feelings, even to a minimum? And you wonder why they stuck with that girl when she had her head bashed in on the coastlines with beautiful buildings empty and not banks that you reopened. You are something so sick and so bad inside and still have issues with the Disney version. So I in your scalp so you can feel special and the best. In what? And it's not me saying it. No. It's not me. It's not only the intel in those countries and in the US. It's not only the thinking ones. It's others. So I'm looking at you and I'm thinking to myself, why are you doing what you're doing? Why are there losses in the US, big or small? Or lesser? Or what about the hanging bitches arguments in alley direct defending parents against Fresno's intelligence? Where's the loss? Where's the loss? If you had bombed Fresno, it wouldn't have fucking made a difference to society. All over the world and in the US. You're stupid. This is what they're showing to you. Not to me. They're showing it to you through me. That's true. Then go change it yourself, fucker. Reopen my building. I have to apologize for having the original intel of that girl having her head bashed in on the coastlines and coming back like this and saying to me, the only thing that's common with you and the original is your eyebrows. There's saintly patience and there's patience and there's fuck you, you're not patience. No. Try that shit again on me, huh? That went straight to you. So start seeing why things happen the way they happen and why you lose. Because why? I can't be an asshole. I could be a bitch. She's got more than me. I didn't like her when she was alive, when she was Is that right? Jesus Christ. I have never seen anything that stupid in my life. So, if you want to ask the worlds why things happen, sometimes you'll have your answer. So I'm going to ask a question like that. So, my last few words, one for Xanadu to one is Disneyland, because I won't be reborn after that. That's the period of time that I have on this planet to explain to you about the Skogland film, stay out of the US, and that there were losses on the coastlines and elsewhere, so we were rather big, and nobody wants to believe that because Disney is a gaming network. I was speaking about Intel. Now you need all the fucking blessings. I don't need the blessings. Okay, Dalai Lama, do grazie, arrivederci. Basta! We're staying in Roverda. And you can't make this shit look rosy. That's really bad. People are looking at it as like, some people know more, some people know less, but I'm going to be sitting there fucking around with this shit. Okay? Yeah. So these are the basics. Okay? This is a ballerina. This is a little one. And I'm not going to be pain. Basta. Okay? You have to start living your lives and looking at yourselves and stop comparing yourselves to others. Because many times you don't know that much. You claim, that your personal experiences are not mine. They're not even mine. You think you got one big one? That big one took from you. Even more than your little kakululula. And I'm not going to be sitting there and proving that here. Because it already happened. And they're trying to erase that girl But the other ones brought her back. Then they erased the baby. Then they say, oh, there's blues in the street of the lost children. At the age of 5. You have, if you knew what them, and they didn't like them, what's that now? You got a problem with that? Oh, Marana! You know, I have seen stupid. I have seen evil. I have seen people try to take advantage of the Disneyland, me. And I just look at it and I say, US. In Africa, they didn't. In Arabia, they didn't. In Russia, they didn't. In Western Europe, they didn't. In Asia, they didn't. In South America, they didn't. Facula, Fresno, Frisco. You are like, I'll put it this way. I'm not afraid of pain because I've already been through it. And I've been through pain for the parents as Disneyland, my version. But I have noticed that you lack thinking. You literally lack the basic thinking, the basic common sense. You lack even that. And for someone to keep repeating the most obvious tells me that either you're mentally retarded or you bad. Therefore, have your games in college. Well, that shit that's already lost stays lost, and that's old news on the news. Okay. Now, I never truly understood why there was the Titanic with that girl, nor did I understand why they fell with me around the world with the Planet House. Because I worked with them and I looked at them and I was a true one of them and one of their best. But I didn't expect such a fixation with that. I just didn't on the coastlines and elsewhere. Because, okay, one died, a few died, okay, there's a bit, many. What were they working on? That's what you see. You see now that intelligence to save itself, even in its own crumbs, just that big shit had to show it that way. That's pretty insulting, US, for you. And so the pretenses are yours. And no one on the planet is going to deny that. The only people who would deny it are people who look at me like, you did. What the fuck I did to you? Motherfucker. Therefore, don't ask me for holy patience. Don't ask me for patience. Don't ask me for nothing. And for the parents, you can forget it. You've lost every fucking marble on the planet. They come from pioneer camps beyond the capital cities, and they are directorates. In other words, you know what a directorate is in humanitarian relief services. Okay? From pioneer camps, and they saved the planet. Constructed. They're not politicals. They're there on the helicopters dropping water, medicine, bread. 25, 30 years in Africa. Mainland Africa. Asia. South America. Oh, come on, you shits. OSRO, TCOR, USAID. It's 160, 180 countries, maybe even 200, 140. I look at the work. As a child, and I'm looking at the sciences in Rome and other places empty because I'm dead. Well, they don't pick up us on the coastlines, and you're still sitting there and going, that kid, bitch. When they were saying jealousy and envy colloquially in 80 countries and 25 states when I was 5 years old with little nails, I was looking at them. And you would think that would make someone happy, yeah? No. As a child, I used to vomit. The word jealousy, the word envy, you know what it triggered in the 5-year-old? Vomit. She's bulimic, no. And it's jealous. Yeah, man. For the parents, sembra torrenziata di vomito. Therefore, don't fuck with me anymore, okay? I got what for 72 to 1 left in my life. That's big ass. And I'm not going to be sitting here and brown nosing and like you. I'm not afraid of poverty. I'm not afraid of many things. But of stupidity, it scares the shit out of me. Stupidity comes... I couldn't read of Mice and Men in high school. I saw of Mice and Men. It's like, Meseri Gira, I'm told that, but I don't even fucking read the cliff notes on that shit. Elvis, please. And you were speaking about terrorists and stuff like that. You are what you are. Each and every single individual on this planet either changes the world for the better or for the worst. In big ways or in small ways. Okay? That's Roman. Therefore, for me, I am Roman. Therefore, please, okay? Papa and Mama want to stay in Rome for retirement. There's the Scotland film, okay? And if that girl existed, if she even existed, and this 221 exists around the world with glam hairs, I am begging you to keep us in Rome for retirements. I am not being a bitch about it. I'm not. I have so little time left, and they gave me this almost dreamlike existence, which I didn't accept. You understand? Because I wasn't stupid. Even if I had a rock because on those lines, I came back as Disney as a child in those schools. Or in Woolwich at 15. I was in college at 15 for free. Going to winter with those stupid winter. I better. If that's what you think this world is about, okay. So when they say to each his own work, to each his own mind or ideas or opinions or gossip, personal experiences, work experiences in this world, don't take it personally. But don't hate. Because the minute you start hating indiscriminately, you lose everything, US. Everything. And stupid. Now, considering that this is the Disney version of that girl after the head was bashed and all those things, I got one more thing to tell you. For those who were jealous of all the blessings of that poor girl, I'll tell you this. They brought me back for that. And I saw them. I saw men in Vatican that I had refused to speak to as a child. 45 years old I was when I got there, on the trackings. The first 4 or 5 years of trackings with the parents, crawlies, little crawlies. Who had spoken about something historic themselves, not on the Intel, them. Opus Dei, yeah, of course, the PhD and Opus Dei, of course. And even if I'd only did the MPhil and the thesis, but didn't do the viva voce, meaning the live voice, the oral defense. I did do the paperwork though, thank you. So don't be, for both parents, yes, don't be such a, not only callous. You see, this is that many times, that many flies, that many runnings, that many crawlies, little crawlies. Don't expect the rest of the world to be sitting there watching the intelligence of Fresno, even within the US, with the hanging benches of Lara Quintus and Ally Rick that many motherfucking times, and just sitting there and say, and so that's why they blame you. You understand that? Because it's Fresno. You understand that? You will see why within Intel, there were losses on the coastline somewhere else. You will see, and big ones there and other places. You will start seeing that many times why those are the guys that then and so I have this moment of Disney. As much as I don't like it, it's also a breather. It's that syncope, missing link, okay? where I'm not going to be divulging any, the basics, okay? And I'm not going to be sitting there and mincing my words after the fucking shit I saw around the world. It's just not going to happen. Santa pazienza, cazzo. And so I'm looking at these men who, in Rome, in the Italian, about this plumbing time, and looking at the intel, not at the race, okay? And I'm sorry, US. You know, there really is times when they call it stupid times just for me, and that's not the parents either. So you have to be, you can't just invent such a story around the blind unless they didn't have it in their head before, or suspected something in their head before. No, this is, those lines. So don't sit there and look at me and say this and that. I am here for a blimping time as Disneyland, and you're like, that fucking whore prostitute, we will stick the fucking psychos, a whores, a shit follower, smack. What the fuck, asshole? You're not creating prophecy. You're making your government pay more and more. You're not going to change the void. You're not going to change the platinum hairs. You're not going to change the course of the incel, those platinum hairs or other things. You're not going to change the mindset of those guys around. You're not going to change the hanging benches of our winters and alley erect a many motherfucking times. The only thing you can change is bomb fucking Fresno. Sorry, should have done that ages ago. Sorry, space bomb. So this is how the masses, the people, of course, agencies and so forth are showing it. And I'm not going to be sitting there in a moment when I could have said something as Disney and just get the rap, I'll fucking make you crazy, I'll clear that day, fucking hate your ass. You go ahead, US. And then you have the Bureau de Veritas, Roman Tribunal, extra, not needed. If you want to kill me again, it will be a second Hague, because that's your fucking cheap-ass fan. In other words, you're not even thinking. You're just rolling with your ass. And this is what they were showing about the US, for me alone, for that kind. And why you hate that girl for coming back like Disney. When things like that happen in the world, they turn around and they walk away from you, the thinking ones. That they always did. But adding that but we have to show that because, even the zoo out there is going to turn around even for me and just shit. Allora, scusa, man. Completely pointless. Therefore, you're not even using that. And I'm looking at it as I'm looking at the bands. Excuse me. We're saying it wrong for a time. With the Scott Clan film. So this is showing something that you created on purpose, you see. And this is not something that's going to help us stay in Rome. It's just going to help you feel better about your assholes, which is wrong. Your own. Whilst the intel will continue doing its own shit, it was something that it was, and you're not going to change that. You're not going to change the hanging bench of Lord Winter and Direct. The only thing, as it says, that you can change, and what they're saying, you can change is either Blom Fresno's intelligence, of course, this for the hanging bench of Lord Quintus and Direct, for the balance, or space bomb. So when you see why they're asking politely to stay out of this country, they were not kidding. Okay. As for the those guys, they said, you really did something big, a plum and dime. It is historic. And even if you're not Italian or British, whatever, we're blessing with it. Basta. I say, isn't this very unusual? And they say yes. And what happened to you on the coastlines was unusual. This Disney is unusual. Asweb 221 is unusual. Ma che cazzo da stay around for a time, porca puttaneva. By now, no sacrifice. That's it. But they're saying to the US and nobody else. The US is not Western Europe. The US is the US. What happened on the coastlines of California is here. It's not you wriggling out. What the fuck? You retarded? This is hate at its best. Because not only you smash your head in on the coastlines, you still have the pretense for that shit, mermaid shit, and you still saying I'm better, and you're attacking me, the Disney version of that girl. I swipe 2-1. They're looking at this shit, those who know, and they're turning around and they're saying, we tried to present the shit, and Rosie Star, these assholes with the girlfriends, even the cycles. Fuck you, it's she bastards. That's not the parents with the hanging benches of Laura Quintus and Al Direct that many motherfucking times. And friends, retirement. So when you look at this, of course, they're speaking about power games, this and that. I, by now, cannot stop it. I cannot stop all this gossip around the planet. I just can't. I mean, I might as well just, that's it. But it was a nice feeling. Because since I was a child, since I was, had that old because I refused. I would go to church or mosque, Orthodox Russia, and even Lutheran, Protestant. It never, a bit, but not, I would go there, okay, once in a while, yeah. But I didn't make a habit of it, you see. And, sure, parents working all the time, Buying accounts beyond the capital cities, work. Ostro, TCY, USA directorates, humanitarian research, jobs, hanging benches of Laura Quintus and I direct them many multiple times, defending them. And me, and those guys sat there. And they looked at me and said, either they know what you did or they don't. We're not going to play around with these assholes anymore. Because they're just assholes. And I looked at them and I said, my goodness, this actually is real. Yeah. No, it's just a psych ward. Yeah. But you know what? Disney. I can't take it anymore. You know what? I'm just standing room for a dime, so I get shit no more. I got 147 to 2-1 to make this happen, and that's it. A bust. I'll sacrifice man. And as for you and your jealousies, or envies, colloquial, you know what you're doing. Goodbye.